Hey guys, just waiting a little bit of time here to see who wants to hop on and be a part of what I'm going to be sharing this evening. But I'll just get right to it and then we'll just save the video. How's that? I want to talk this evening about a concept that I sort of have just been learning about myself just in the last 10 years, but even especially more in the last year and a half, and that is the area that is called self-aware. And I'm talking about this because, as you know, I help men become better husbands, and as a coach that does that, this is one area that I find that especially men, it's true of everybody, but especially men struggle with. And I think one of the reasons men struggle with being self-aware is because of, we'll say two things. One, it takes work, and nobody really wants to find out what might be there that's a problem. And secondly, it takes time. And you have to decide, I'm going to become a self-aware person if you're going to become self-aware. It doesn't just happen. It's not automatic. It's something that you have to work at. And so I want to just discuss 4 things that I think are helpful to understand if we're going to be self-aware, especially as men who want to become better husbands. But again, these principles apply to every human being. And the first one is we have to understand and grasp emotions. And that's really a big deal for most men, because there are a lot of men I know, and myself included, who have been known to say, I have no idea what I'm feeling. And again, that's not exclusive to men. That can be for anybody, but it's a reality that we face. What are you feeling? I don't know. I'm hungry. You know, I've laughed about that because, you know, I guess hunger is a feeling, but it's not really an emotion, is it? It's something else. And so I have a friend who carries around a chart with him, and maybe I'll put this up on my Facebook page as well. It's actually called a feelings chart, and it's a bunch of spokes that come out of the center that sort of help you to sort of narrow down what real feelings are. But that's just one thing that we have to get a hold of. If we're going to be self-aware, we have to understand what emotions are so that we can then take the step of understanding what my emotions are. So one thing in being a self-aware person is understanding what are emotions and then understanding what are my emotions. And that, again, takes time and reflection. You have to stop and say, what was I feeling, or what am I feeling right now? And it's a skill that you have to learn. The second thing is understanding why I'm responding to a particular event, or to a particular word, or to a particular look, if it is in a relationship, you know, and being able, the self-awareness is the part that is able, even as tensions are rising, or as I'm wanting to get out of the room, or whatever it is, even as that is happening, the tensions are a cause, they're a result of something. And so in that time, you need to be able to stop and say, why am I feeling this right now? And so that's the second area of self-awareness, and that is, why is my response what it is? And someone who's really become self-aware begins to be able to do that in the moment. When you're first starting to move towards self-awareness, you have to go back and do some reflection and say, you know, this happened. Why was I reacting the way that I was in that moment? Which really brings me to the third thing. The third thing that we have to understand if we're going to become self-aware, and that is the issue or the principle or the skill of reflection. And again, if you think about it, it takes work and it takes time. Reflection takes time. And reflection is the ability to slow down, to take a breath, to rest, to get away, to get into a quiet place, to get a journal maybe, and just begin to reflect on your day. Reflect on the past week, but it's being willing to reflect. And what reflection does is it lets me go back and look at maybe an event, maybe why did I respond that way. It lets me go back and say, what were my emotions? But it takes time and it takes work, and that's a third principle to becoming self-aware. So we got understanding emotions and what are my emotions. We have our response and being able to grasp what is my response and why did I respond that way? And thirdly, we have the issue of reflection, which takes time to that I'm gonna carve out a space in my day where I'm actually gonna step back and I'm just get quiet and I'm gonna reflect on the day. I'm gonna reflect on my work. I'm gonna reflect on my relationship. Again, as husbands, I'm gonna reflect on my relationship with my wife in particular. And then fourth, and maybe one of the hardest areas to become self-aware is to be able to receive feedback. And if you're a guy out there, you're married, you probably have learned that one of the hardest places sometimes to receive feedback is from your wife. But again, this is a principle for every human being who's in any relationship throughout their life, and that is receiving feedback gives us more of an ability to be self-aware. And so I was in a meeting just a few days ago with a group of men. We were meeting about a business situation, and one of them is young. I don't consider myself old, but I'm older than he is. And so I was talking to him about my life when I was his age, and he has young children, and my children have grown. And I was talking to him about that, and I was kind of feeling angst because I was challenging him a little bit as to how he was making his decisions. But I was really encouraged when he looked at me and he said, "Thanks. That really makes me think. I really want to think about it." He received the feedback, and when he received the feedback, he took another level of being self-aware, and I was just really proud of how he responded in that situation. But feedback, I have another friend, Dr. Joseph Umidi, who says feedback is the breakfast of champions. And in whatever area of life, whatever you're trying to do, feedback is going to be a key. But if you want to become self-aware, you need to be able to receive feedback. But the next level of being a feedback person is you need to be actively pursuing feedback so that you are actually going to someone and saying, "Would you tell me how I'm doing this area? How is this feeling to you at this point?" And so again, because I'm working and really trying to help husbands become a better husband, one thing that men, we need to learn to do is we need to learn to humble ourselves, sit down with our wife and listen and say, I'm trying to become better at this, whatever the area is, and say, "What do you see?" And man, then we have to just be quiet and listen. And then you might take that stuff, write it down. It's something you can use in your reflection time. So 4 things that I'm just wanting to share with you tonight, and that is your emotions, know emotions, and know your own emotions. Get into touch with what emotions are. Understand responses through reflection, but also in the moment. Why am I reacting this way? As a matter of fact, somebody might be watching this video and there's a response coming up within them, and that'd be a great time to just say, why am I reacting this way? Third, be a person of reflection so that you're able, not only able, you're willing to do the work of putting aside the time to reflect and really think about your day, think about your relationship, think about your reactions, all of those kinds of things. And finally, be a person who wants feedback, who is able to receive feedback, and who not only wants and is able, but actually pursues feedback. And those things will help us become people of self-awareness. And when you become a person of self-awareness, you move to